Good morning, Miramar. It is Tamara G, your host, and so happy to have you join us today. Don't forget, you can check us out on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at City of Miramar. And with me today is Ryan Baker. He is the public health specialist for Affirming Youth Foundation. They're in Miami-Dade County. They're very good friends to the show. They've been on before. We just wanted to get an update with them. So, Ryan, first of all, how are you? And tell us a little bit about what you do.
I'm doing fantastic today. Thank you so much for having me on. The job title public health specialist comes into a couple different roles. My main role here is as a therapist. So I see children, adults, families, and help them through some of the issues they may be facing, especially this year. Hopefully, this year is a little bit better than 2020. But yeah, that's one of the big parts of my job. Another part of it is helping to plan and help inform policies and programs to better help and better serve the people of Miami-Dade, especially in Liberty City.
Amazing. So now tell me, how did you get into this, Ryan? Because, public health, as you know, encompasses a whole gamut of things. How did you get to what your specialty is right now?
Mhm. So, like you just said, that there's a lot of different parts of public health, and it's not just the mental health aspect. Unfortunately, what I find a lot of the times with other therapists is sometimes they're only focused on the mental health, and they only zero in on, okay, we're only going to tackle the anxiety, depression, all that other stuff that caused it. Whatever, that's somebody else's problem.
Right.
So one of the things that I'm really fortunate to be able to do here at Affirming Youth is be able to connect people to other resources. And how I got into it basically is, as I was going through graduate school, I noticed that discrepancy. I noticed that as I was doing work with certain clients, some clients, it was just the mental health aspect of it, and it was fantastic getting to work with them and getting to help them through their issues. But then other families, I noticed, you know what, that stuff is still important and still working, but there's this other aspect to it, and I wanted to try and address some of those things. So I think Affirming Youth was just a great fit for me, because not only can I go into my specialty of mental health, but I can also help people beyond just the mental health aspect.
Right. And you mentioned briefly with how you got involved with this was that you did see some disparities. You did see some things that, for one group it was this and for another group it was that. Can you give us a little bit of that? Because you
Mhm.
would think, of course, we know this is America, but you would think overall the healthcare would be equal for everybody.
Yeah,
And we find that not to be. It depends on what your insurance can pay for, or if you even have insurance. Correct?
definitely. Definitely. And like you just said, there's so many different discrepancies. So one would be class, right? So when I was working at another foundation, I noticed that there were certain clients that needed services but weren't able to access them because they didn't have, like you said, either the insurance or the funds to be able to do it. And then unfortunately, another huge part of it that some people will dismiss is the racial aspect of it. Just, I know, for substance use as an example, a lot of the times white or lighter skinned people, they, if they are suffering from substance use, people will look at it more from a treatment aspect as opposed to a punishment aspect. But for a lot of minority groups and a lot of oppressed groups, it's the opposite, where they say we need to punish them or imprison them as opposed to getting them the help and the resources they need.
Right.
So the disparities come in from a lot of different angles: class, finances, race, um, religion. All of those kind of things play into it, and that's one of the great things about working here, is that we're able to take all of those things into account and help people that may not have as many resources.
Right. Well, we are so glad that you're with Affirming Youth Foundation now. And I know you can't, give specifics of what you deal with on a daily basis, because, of course, of HIPAA laws and all that good stuff.
Of
But
course.
if you can just give us just a little synopsis of what your day looks like when you come in, because you mentioned when we first started this program, this past year has been and we keep using that word unprecedented, but it really has been. There's nothing to describe this in our lifetime. So I can imagine when you come in, there is a new crisis or a new emergency every day.
Yes. So I'm gonna go back to the first part of the question is what does my day look like?
Mhm.
So my day when I come in, usually what happens is it's a mix of scheduling new clients, following up with new clients that hear about us through the website or through podcasts like this or other things, or referrals from our community partners because we're a big believer in working with the community. So I'll follow up with people, schedule them, have counseling sessions with them, and then throughout the rest of the day, I'm also looking into um, different resources for people. As generic examples, sometimes somebody might not have access to a lawyer, but they need legal help, or they
Okay.
might not have access to a housing community, so they might be out of work and trying to find a job. So we might connect them with Career Source or another hiring agency, or they might be getting evicted or something like that, where I'm going outside of the session. During the sessions it's mostly focused on the mental health aspect, and then on the side I'm also looking through our community partners, and if we don't have a community partner, seeing where we can connect with other people within the community to help bring everybody in the community together to raise everything up.
And as a public health specialist, Ryan, I know that all of it is intertwined. You
Hmm.
may have mental health issues because you don't have a job, or you may have some behavioral issues, since affirming youth deals with children and families. You may be having some behavioral issues at school because you don't have food in the house, or you don't have a roof over your head every night. It's just all, it works together. And of course that's what you guys do, is to try to make it better for everybody.
Definitely, definitely. And like you said, all of those environmental factors play into everything. So I found a common misconception for mental health is a lot of people think they don't need counseling or they don't want to go to counseling because they're not crazy, right? And I'll- first off, I want to say to anybody that's thinking that no, you're not crazy. But second is almost every mental health disorder has both ecological or environmental factors and the genetic factors. So um, if somebody is experiencing a lot of these symptoms of either depression, anxiety, or whatever disorder that they're feeling, whatever symptoms they're feeling, that's not just as a result of them as a person. Pretty much anybody would be feeling these kind of things under stressors, under different
Under this
circumstances.
year, under the
Under this year,
circumstances of
everybody.
this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and it always ties back into class, to finances,
Hmm.
to race, because I know people that are very well off, but they're still feeling the effects of 2020, even being insulated with if they have funds or if they have resources. So people without those things must be feeling it even more because they don't have those cushioning effects.
Right.
Um,
That most
so
people
it
do. Um,
definitely.
if you're just tuning in, we're speaking with Ryan Baker. He is the public health specialist with Affirming Youth Foundation. And we've been talking about what he does at the foundation, but also how being a public health specialist is more than just dealing with the mental aspect. It's a holistic, it's an entire approach because of the things that people are dealing with and are feeling. You mentioned something about a lot of people don't want to go into some type of counseling because, again, I'm not crazy, whatever
Yeah.
that means. Very forthright here. I went to counseling and went to therapy for 2 years straight. Uh, Maybe about 10 years ago, because I just felt like I needed some help with some things that I was dealing with. I never thought I was crazy. I just knew that it was something that I needed to figure out what was going on with me. So what do you say to those people, families, whether they're dealing with kids or even the adults in the family who may need some counseling, but they're embarrassed, they don't want to get it, they don't want to admit that there may be an issue?
So first thing I'd like to say to them is that their feelings of hesitancy completely normal. I've worked with many families, many individuals, adults, kids, teenagers, all across the age gamut, and one, there is that stigma of, oh, I don't want to be crazy. It's not, therapy isn't just for crazy people.
Right.
Therapy can be for anybody, like you said. And the other part of it too is I think that there's a lack of education about therapy. Most people, when they think of therapy, they think about the movies and TV, which don't get me wrong, those are really entertaining. I like watching them, but
Hmm.
it's not a good representation of what therapy is. And the other part of it is like when the common person thinks about therapy, they're thinking about Freud and tell me about your mother and look at these ink blots and that kind of thing. And that was like the very early days of the field. That's like comparing like medical field to when they used leeches and like that kind of thing,
To get rid of blood diseases, right? I remember
Yeah,
those.
yeah, yeah. So there's been so much scientific advancement, and a lot of people don't understand that counseling isn't just, okay, sit on this couch and talk about your history, your past for like an hour, and then give me a check, right?
Right.
It's a whole process where we go through people's goals and we educate people on um, brain chemistry. We educate people on purposes of emotions and why they might be reacting a certain way to a certain stimulus that's coming in, certain stressors that are coming in, because the human brain was designed to solve problems, right? Uh, so to the best of our ability, we will always do that. But sometimes that the problem solving can create more issues. So that's one of the things that we do in therapy is help people map out better ways to solve their problems.
Right. And I know that since Affirming Youth Foundation deals mainly with youth, of course, the family is brought into the whole holistic thing and hopefully to try to find some solutions to what their issues are. Um, I know, how do you deal with
Mhm.
the kids that come in and have the issues that they have? Because that to me has always been a question of how does the mental health worker get
Mhm.
over hearing and seeing the things that they do? You have to have empathy. There's no way you
Yeah,
couldn't for the things that people are going through
definitely. So when I'm
so that it
hearing
doesn't
yeah,
overwhelm you. How
yeah,
about that?
I get what you're saying. So it has to be a really delicate balance that you have to have empathy to be able to do your job. If you don't have empathy, you're a bad counselor. You're a bad therapist. But if it's always on, then it starts weighing on you. So one of the things that I fortunately I feel like I'm just good at this part. I know that other therapists struggle with it a little bit more. Is once I am done I don't want to say done with the session because I still think about my clients after the session. I
Okay.
still think about them throughout the day so I can get them to the resources that they need. But when I'm not doing that work, I'm able just to kind of shut off. I start thinking about, oh, well, what about the cut it off, and I go back to what I was doing, or do a lot of self care. Under normal circumstances, I usually train like MMA and that kind of thing. Right
Okay.
now, can't do it, so I've been doing a lot of bike riding, running, that kind of thing.
In the best health of your life. Okay, that's good, Ryan. So, how can people get more information about Affirming Youth Foundation and the services that you offer as a public health specialist?
Yeah. So just as a brief rundown, because like you said that before we were primarily dealing with kids and families, now we've opened up our services to adults as well. So we're able to see adults as individual clients. I'm seeing a couple now actually.
That's awesome.
Um, yep. So the best way to reach out to us is either through phone or through email. You can call us at 305-230-4598. If you feel like talking to me, if my voice has been real pleasing to everybody, my extension is 106, so you can ask for me. If not, just call that the general number, and then somebody will get in contact with you. Or you can email us at info@affirmingyouth.org.
Awesome. And I'm writing all of this down because someone I'm sure is going to need it. So, again, that number is 305-230-4598. Ryan's extension is 106 if you want to get in touch with him. And if you want more information, you can always go to the website affirmingyouth.org or send an email at info at affirmingyouth.org. But we certainly appreciate you being with us today. Ryan Baker, Public Health Specialist with Affirming Youth Foundation. Thank you for giving us an insight on what your day looks like and the things that you're having to deal with during this, COVID-19 nightmare that we are going through. And let's hope that it ends in 2021 for sure.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having us on.
Thank you. Good morning, Miramar, and welcome to the show. If you're just now tuning in, I'm your host, Tamara G. And of course, we know it's right here in Miramar. You can check us out on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at City of Miramar. And with me, actually a resident of Miramar. Is that your address says Miramar, right?
Yes, it is.
We have with us today the executive director of Affirming Youth Foundation, Jonathan Spikes. And we've been speaking with people from his organization, from public health specialists to project managers. And all of this was made possible because of Jonathan's vision for what he wants to see in this world. So, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. And welcome back to the show, I should say, because you have been with us before. But I would love to talk about that vision for affirming youth, because Jonathan, it takes a lot to do what you're doing. This is, look, as my grandmother used to say, it takes more than a notion. So you're doing a lot of work.
Yes, it takes some faith, and it takes being innovative and creative and thinking outside the box to bring practices that will bring equity and justice and resiliency to the people of Liberty City, the community that I grew up in and that I love, although I do live in Miramar.
Yes, but you are right there in the midst of everything. You're working hard for the kids and for the families. Why has this become such a, and it's not a pet project, because pet projects are something you can just do and put away to the side. But this has become a passion. This has become a life thing for you. This is what you do now.
Exactly. It is my calling. I do believe that it is my calling in life to come back and address the social determinants of health, the things that oppresses people, economic disparities, food insecurities, housing discrimination, redlining, and all of those things. It became my life work, unbeknownst to me. It's also very passionate for me because I grew up in Liberty City, and I experienced a lot of trauma in this same community. I had a brother when I was 8 years old. He was shot, taken out the garbage can. We were just playing together. He survived, but it was very traumatic to see this brother who I was just playing with to come back into the house with a bullet in his leg and blood over in the floor. And I didn't understand it. We didn't talk about it. They took him to the hospital. He came back, and it was just a way of life. When I turned 21 years old, I had a different brother who was 28 years old, who was shot on Northwest 68th Terrace in 18th Avenue in Miami. And I went to the scene and saw my brother laying in the street, who was lifeless. And we never talked about it. We just saw it, and it was a way of life. And to later realize how these things were affecting me and my thoughts, um, dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, and then you talk to other people in the community and realize this thing has taken over the entire community and became a way of life, which it should not be.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I think that has been an issue, is that most people think that this is how it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
And we know that's not how it's supposed to be. And we know that it can change. And that is what you're doing with Affirming Youth. You are dealing with the children and their families. You are making it a family unit that gets help, not just the one child.
Right. And we wanted to make it where it's comprehensive and holistic. And so the first portion that we started with was addressing traumatic experiences that people see in the community and in their homes, in the schools, and in the neighborhoods. And so that was very important. And now we added on the economic piece. And so we believe that if you reduce economic disparities and if you address adverse childhood experiences like community violence and things of that nature, then people can rise up and manage and maintain themselves.
Right. And, just a side note here, at the beginning of the year, the state of Florida was one of the states to raise the minimum wage. by a whopping 9 cents.
I-
Yeah.
w-
Yeah.
Okay, so being the person that I am, I think increase, although it is not enough. So we'll say thank you for the increase first.
Amen.
Okay, at least it's it was thank you for the increase first, because I had to learn how to say thank you first. And now we'll go back and say that if we really want people to rise and address economic disparities and inequalities that systems such as political systems and governmental systems and education systems put in place, these things are designed to be this way, and the system is working exactly as it was designed to work. That some people who live in marginalized communities will never get their moment to shine or never get the economic freedom.
And that's why I brought that up, because I know that that is part of your life's work here with Affirming Youth, is to address those inequities, to address the disparities that are going on, that people, but like you said, because it's been going on for so long, you just think that's how it's supposed to be.
Right.
That's not how it's supposed to be. And everyone should have the right to fair housing and good housing and clean water and trash pickup and just the things that most people take for granted.
Transportation. They should have safety in their neighborhoods. They should be able to go to the grocery store and buy healthy foods.
Right. Or have a grocery store in their neighborhood to go
Yes.
to.
There are major economic disparities when we look at it between the black and white, including Hispanics. There's a large economic disparity as it relates to these types of things. And so 9 cents per
Yeah.
hour more,
Yep. It went up a whole 9 cents.
whole nonsense, would not address all of these things that we're speaking about right now.
Absolutely. And I when I saw that, I was like, wow. And there were some states who went up, a dollar, went up
Mhm.
50 cents, went up $1.50. New Mexico went up $1.50. I think they're over 10.50 now. We were at 8.52, and I think now we're at 8.61. So 9 cents. And they wonder why, we have the crime, we have the issues that we have.
They know why. They don't wonder why. They already know why. It is designed to work exactly as it is working. And that's why people like us and the work that you're also doing to
Mhm.
highlight these disparities is very important.
Right. And that is why Jonathan Spikes, the CEO of Affirming Youth Foundation, is going to continue fighting, because he doesn't know any other way to do it but to fight.
Man, I would have never imagined that the things that we are doing would turn into all of this
Yes.
passion
Right.
and connecting people together, bringing people together from different sectors of the community, from law enforcement to
Other social services, other charities, other organizations.
yes, churches, religious institutions, university partnerships. All of us are working to address these disparities and to create policies and procedures that would inform the practice of the work that we're doing.
So when are we going to see another outpost or a second location for
Oh,
Affirming Youth Foundation?
well, that is very, very soon. We were approved to move into our an additional location in Miami Gardens. That is March the 1st, 2021. We'll be moving into that, expanding the services into the north end of Miami-Dade County, which is even closer to Miramar.
Awesome. All right. Well, if people want more information, if they're looking for help for their child or for them, or would like just to know more about the organization, how can they find out more information about Affirming Youth Foundation?
They can look us up on our website, www.affirmingyouth.org, or you could call us at 305-230-4598, or you can send an email to info@affirmingyouth.org.
Sounds good. So again, the website, affirmingyouth.org. If you want an email, you want to send an email, info@affirmingyouth.org. And that phone number, once again, is 305
230-4598.
Thank you so much, Jonathan Spikes, the CEO, the brainchild behind Affirming Youth Foundation. We certainly appreciate you coming on today and giving us a little bit more insight on how it all got started, what you're doing for the Liberty City area and soon to be the North Dade area as well with a second location.
That's
We
right.
wish you nothing but continued success in what you're doing to strengthen and make our families whole. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.